I started hearing the messages before I owned the recorder. That's the part no one ever believes. The first time, I thought it was a neighbor's TV bleeding through the wall, a muffled voice, distant and warped, like a radio tune slightly wrong. I ignored it. Everyone ignores sounds that don't make sense at first. It was only later that I realized the voice was repeating the same sentence. Can you hear me now? I lived alone in a small rental house on the edge of town. Cheap, quiet, and far enough from the road that nights felt thick and still. The kind of silence where you become aware of your own breathing. The voice always came after midnight, never loud, never urgent, just patient. I tried music, white noise, earplugs. Nothing drowned it out completely. It always slipped through, like it was closer than sound should be. One night, curiosity got the better of me. I downloaded a voice recording app and left my phone on the nightstand while I slept. When I played it back the next morning, there was nothing. No whisper, no static, no voice. But at exactly 1:32 a.m., the audio cut out for 3 seconds. Not silence, just missing sound, like something had been removed. That night, the voice spoke again, clearer this time. You recorded me wrong. My stomach dropped. I sat up in bed and scanned the room. The door was locked, the windows were closed. The house was exactly as I'd left it. The voice didn't come from the walls. It came from right beside my ear. I didn't sleep after that. The next day, I bought a proper digital recorder, something with better range, better storage. If something was happening, I wanted proof. I placed the recorder on the kitchen table and turned it on before bed. At 1:32 a.m., I woke to the sound of the recorder clicking off, by itself. In the morning, the file was there, 1 minute long. I pressed play. At first, it was just room tone, the low hum of electricity, my own breathing faint in the background. Then a second set of breathing joined it, slow, measured, too close to the microphone. A voice followed, not whispering, speaking normally. You hear me better now. I dropped the recorder. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely pick it up again. That voice was familiar. Not in the way you recognize a friend, in the way you recognize yourself on a voicemail and hate how it sounds. I stopped recording after that. But the voice didn't stop. It started correcting me. If I said something out loud, complaining, thinking to myself, I'd hear it repeated back later, slightly delayed, slightly wrong. Sometimes in my own voice, sometimes not. I tried sleeping at a friend's place. The voice followed me there, quieter but still present, waiting. When I came home, the recorder was on the table. I was certain I'd left it in a drawer. There was a new file, 10 minutes long. I didn't want to play it. I did anyway. The first 9 minutes were empty room sound. Then my front door opened. Footsteps crossed the kitchen. A chair scraped back. The recorder shifted as if someone had picked it up. And then my voice spoke directly into the microphone. I can hear you now. The timestamp read 1:32 a.m. I was asleep in my bedroom at that time. The final night, the voice didn't whisper. It spoke calmly, confident. It's your turn. The recorder clicked on by itself. I felt pressure behind my eyes, a buzzing in my ears, like my head was filling with static. Words started forming in my mouth that I didn't plan to say. I fought it. I really did. But when the recorder played back the next morning, there was only one line, spoken clearly, spoken perfectly. By me. Can you hear me now? I don't use the recorder anymore. I don't need it. Because sometimes, late at night, when the house is quiet, I hear someone listening, and I know they're waiting for me to answer back. Every night at exactly 3:17 a.m., the house across the street turns its lights on. All of them. Living room, kitchen, upstairs bedrooms, even the porch light that hasn't worked since before I moved in. It doesn't matter what day it is, weekday, weekend, storm, clear sky. 3:17 a.m. I noticed it because I couldn't sleep. When you're awake long enough, you start cataloging the world outside your window without meaning to. The rhythm of passing cars, the timing of traffic lights, the glow of houses that stay up later than they should. The house across the street was always dark, until it wasn't. The first night, I thought someone had moved in. The second night, I thought it was coincidence. By the fifth night, I was setting alarms. At 3:16 a.m., the house is a black silhouette. At 3:17, it lights up like it's expecting company. The lights stay on for exactly 4 minutes. Then they all turn off at once. No staggering, no delay, like a switch being thrown somewhere deep inside the building. I asked my neighbors about it. They looked at me like I'd asked something rude. One of them finally said, "That house has been empty for years." I didn't believe him until I saw the for sale sign the next morning. Faded, weather warped. A phone number scratched out so many times it was unreadable. No cars, no mail, no movement. That night I watched from my bedroom window. At 3:17 a.m., the lights came on, and someone stood in the upstairs window. Just a silhouette, perfectly still, facing my house. I waved. The figure didn't move. I tried again the next night. Same thing. Lights on, figure in the window. This time it raised its arm. Not a wave, a point, directly at me. I stopped watching after that, but I could feel it. That sense of being observed doesn't go away just because you close your curtains. A week later, I found a note taped to my front door. No envelope, just paper. "We can see you now." I didn't call the police. I didn't tell anyone. Something about the note felt clinical, like an observation, not a threat. That night, I stayed in the living room with every light on. At 3:17 a.m., the house across the street lit up. So did mine. Every light in my house turned on at once. I hadn't touched a switch. My heart hammered as I stood frozen in the middle of the room. Then I heard movement upstairs. Slow footsteps, measured, like someone taking notes with their feet. I stayed perfectly still. The footsteps stopped directly above me. Something heavy settled on the floor. The lights across the street turned off. Mine didn't. A voice came from the ceiling, not loud, not whispering, just clear. "Observation complete." The lights went out. Everywhere. When morning came, the house across the street was gone. Not burned, not demolished, just gone. An empty lot, as if it had never existed. My house remained. But sometimes, at 3:17 a.m., my lights flicker. And I swear, I can feel someone checking if I'm still here. The note was already on my desk when I arrived. I know it was mine because it was written in my handwriting. Black ink, all caps. "Do not stay after 6 p.m. I stared at it for a long time, trying to remember when I'd written it. I worked late often, too often, but I didn't remember leaving myself warnings. I laughed it off and slipped the paper into a drawer. At 6:03 p.m., the office lights dimmed. Not off, just lower, like the building was conserving something. The office was nearly empty by then. A few people still typing. The hum of air conditioning. Normal sounds stretched thin by the hour. At 6:07, the elevator stopped working. Every call button glowed red. At 6:10, my phone lost service. No bars, no Wi-Fi. That's when the intercom crackled. After hours protocol has begun. The voice wasn't automated. It paused between words, like it was reading something old. I grabbed my bag and headed for the stairwell. The door wouldn't open. The handle turned. The latch didn't move. The hallway lights flickered, and the carpet seemed longer. The walls felt farther apart, like the building was subtly rearranging itself. At 6:15, the typing stopped. Every keyboard, everywhere. I realized I was the only one still breathing loudly. The intercom spoke again. Please remain at your assigned station. I returned to my desk because I couldn't think of anything else to do. The monitor turned on by itself. A document opened, untitled. Words began to appear, one letter at a time. You were supposed to leave. I tried to shut the computer down. It wouldn't respond. The lights dimmed further. The office behind me filled with the sound of chairs sliding back. Slow, in unison. I didn't turn around. The intercom whispered, "Overtime is not optional." Something leaned close to my ear. I could feel its breath, cold, smelling faintly of dust and old paper. "Sign out," it said. My hands moved without permission. I typed my name. The moment I hit enter, the lights snapped back to full brightness. The office was empty. The clock read 5:59 p.m. My desk was clean, except for a single sheet of paper. Fresh ink, all caps. Thank you for your extra time. I never stay late anymore, but sometimes at exactly 6 p.m., my computer turns on by itself and waits, like it remembers me. When my father died, the house became very quiet. Not peaceful, not empty. Quiet, in the way a room goes silent when someone stops breathing. The house had been in our family for generations, sitting alone at the edge of a dead-end road where the forest pressed close on all sides. I hadn't lived there since childhood, but I recognized every sound the moment I stepped inside. The way the floorboard near the stairs sighed, the soft knock the loose window made when the wind shifted, and something else, a sound I didn't remember. Footsteps, not mine. The lawyer told me I'd need to stay a few weeks to sort through paperwork, clear out my father's belongings, and prepare the house for sale. I agreed, even though the idea of sleeping there again made my skin crawl. The first night, I heard the footsteps at 12:11 a.m. Slow, measured, moving from the back of the house toward my bedroom. I lay still, heart pounding, listening as they stopped just outside my door. Then they turned around and walked away. The second night, the footsteps came earlier, 11:46 p.m. They followed the same path. This time, they paused longer outside my door. I called out, expecting something. An intruder, an animal, anything with a shape. No answer. On the third night, I remembered something I'd buried. When I was a child, my father had rules, simple ones. Never open the basement door after dark. Never answer if someone calls your name from inside the house. Never follow the footsteps. I found the basement door at the end of the hallway, exactly where it had always been, painted shut, the handle cold. That night, the footsteps didn't stop at my door. They continued past it, down the hallway, and down the basement stairs. I heard the door open. I did not sleep. The next morning, I found muddy footprints leading from the basement into the kitchen. Bare feet, too large to be mine. I confronted my father's old neighbor, an aging man who had known the house longer than anyone. When I mentioned the footsteps, he went pale. "He told you the rules, didn't he?" the man asked. I nodded. "You weren't supposed to come back," he said quietly. That night, the house spoke. Not out loud, through pressure, through vibration, through the way the walls seemed to lean inward. At 12:11 a.m., the footsteps returned. But this time, there were two sets, one heavy, one light, child-sized. They stopped at my door. Something knocked. 3 times. Slow, careful. A voice followed. My father's voice. "Open the door." I backed away until I hit the wall. "I'm not alone anymore," the voice said. The basement door slammed open. The house shook. Something moved fast through the halls, scraping against walls, breathing hard. The lights went out. In the darkness, something stood in front of me. I couldn't see it, but I could feel its attention. "You grew up," it said. "That makes you easier to keep." When the lights returned, it was morning. The house was empty. The basement door stood open. Inside were handprints on the walls, some small, some not. The lawyer called later that day. There was no record of my father's death, no hospital, no certificate. The house was still listed as occupied, by him. I left that night. The house is still there. No one lives in it. But sometimes, when the forest is quiet enough, people say they hear footsteps, and a man teaching a child the rules.